welcome back to this week's episode. I'm so excited to invite Rahul Reddy back onto this YouTube channel. He had an awesome run at Worlds, got 9th place with Lugia, and this is not his first rodeo with Lugia either. He got top 16 with Toronto 2 years ago, top 8 in Pittsburgh this last year. So we have a masterful Lugia player here to teach us this week. Rahul, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Ursi. It'll be a lot of fun. I think every Lugia I've done well with has been a different iteration, and every single time it feels worse and worse, but the deck is still so good, so we're going to see if it can still last the test of time until it rotates.
Fingers crossed, it'll be the new Mew VMAX. So I have a couple questions about Lugia if we get into it.
Sure.
I can never get two Archeops into the discard pile. Is there any tips or tricks that you have on how to do that?
Absolutely. So I think a lot of the time, the deck's biggest consistency concern is getting those two Archeops into the discard.
For sure.
So my list in particular, when we go over it, is including a card like Squawkabilly, so that when you go first or second, a lot of the time, you can just slam it, and you're seeing 6 more cards every single time, in addition to your supporter or even before your supporter. So it gives you higher odds of just seeing more cards that put Archeops in the discard. But otherwise, just get those Ultra Balls, get those Researchers, and if you have to read the wind. So
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I'm very afraid that we're just going to, never get Archeops into the discard pile.
Yeah.
But I guess talking about your list, I've already sent it to you. Would you like to walk us through the list? Are there any special cards,
Sure.
MVP cards, or text that you put into it?
Yeah, sure. So the list is, I think, pretty standard across the board, but the big thing that sticks out is the 1/1 line of Minccino. I think that most lists are playing either a really thick line of Minccino or they're opting for the more big basic strategy. We kind of chose to go with a hybrid because Minccino is still a pretty good card when you actually establish it against big matchups like Charizard, Regidrago. It's a threat that they have to answer. And against decks like Blocklax, if you get one Minccino up, you just kind of win the game.
Okay.
But the deck still focuses on the big basic strategy with using Iron Hands in matchups like Gardevoir and Zard early on, using Warrior usually to take your 3rd and 4th prize cards, and things like Blood Moon Ursaluna can close out the game in a great fashion, just like it's a hard thing to deal with for a lot of decks. And then we played a copy of Raikou, which I think is the interesting addition. And the big reason for Raikou is that it's just an energy-efficient attacker in a lot of situations, and a lot of decks have to put down a Squawkabilly or fill their board or something like that, so you're able to just take a free 2 prize cards. With Legacy Energy, it becomes a 1 prize card attacker, effectively. And I think 14% of the time it's your starter, which gives you an extra free card or 2 cards, which increases your odds of Archeops. But besides that, everything else is pretty stock standard. I think Squawkabilly and Pheasantipity were pretty MVP cards across the weekend. 1 to get you cards early, 1 to get you cards late, and a lot of the time finding just boss in the end of the game is all you need. So Pheasantipity made it so you couldn't get Ionoed low, or if your opponent played Sinnoh or something to get around Gift Energy, you still were able to see 3 more cards or 4 more cards off the Pheasantipity.
True, those 2 cards are really good for a draw. Pheasantipity's, I feel like the MVP of the entire new Shrouded Fable set.
Yeah.
But we love Blood Moon Ursaluna finishing off those games. So, I guess going into the matchups here, I'm sure everyone is wondering, do we actually think Lugia is going to survive after this last Worlds? And if, especially with, I think, the Iron Thorns that won Worlds, what do we think here?
I think it won't be as popular moving into Baltimore and those other regionals because obviously Thorns and Miraidon both doing really well is not ideal for the deck. Unfortunately, we are weak to Lightning type, and we can't really deal with either of those decks. You could play a Fluttermane for Iron Thorns to go around the ability, but your win rate only goes up probably a couple percentage points. It's still a pretty bad matchup. So those 2 are pretty bad matchups. But on the flip side, decks like Roaring Moon is another good matchup that's introduced. And I don't think Regidrago decks should be theoretically playing cards like Temple of Sinnoh or Enhanced Hammer moving forward, because the bigger threats are these aggro decks like Miraidon and Moon and stuff, and Bolt, because that becomes a problem for Drago, and Lugia kind of gets, in theory, chased out by those decks.
So I guess that covers a lot of those electric decks.
Yeah.
What do we think of, I guess, still Charizard? Is this still somebody that we worry about, not worry about? How do we feel here?
I think Charizard is definitely a deck we should worry about. I think it's one of those decks that, while it has a pretty poor Drago matchup, it does do better into those aggro decks like Miraidon and Moon, because Charizard is really hard to take down for those decks.
Oh yeah.
So once you get like
chunky boy.
Yeah, once you get like 1 or 2 up and running, it's really hard for those decks to deal with it. You have access to Radzard, stuff like that. And Tord had a pretty unique and innovative way to play the deck. Once again, he keeps doing it.
For sure.
So I think Charizard's definitely a deck to worry about. But the big thing with Lugia is that if you can go 2/2/2 faster than them, like if you go Iron Hands early, take 2, they knock you out. You can either go Raikou back into their Pidgeot, or you can go Gust something like a Rotom or a Lumineon on their bench and take it out with your own Lugia. Then the 2/2/2 always favors you, because at the end of the game they have a Pidgeot that you can Raikou, or you can Wordier and just one-shot the active. And some of these new lists that we saw aren't playing Dusknoir either.
Yeah.
Which means that your Minccino is safe, because one of the things that I was concerned about in testing was that they could go Dusknoir, take the prize on the Minccino, knock out your Wordier or something in the same turn, and Iono you to like 2 cards. So you're basically stuck in a position where you've lost both your big attackers, you're at 1 prize card, but you don't have a great way to take that 1 prize card anymore.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's all about chasing or like prize racing here against that Charizard, since he's still a big
trying to go
prize attacker.
2/2/2. Yeah.
Okay, so how do we feel about Gardevoir then? Because Gardevoir is using single prize attackers versus those big 2 prize Charizards.
Gardevoir in general is one of those decks that I think is getting kind of cheesed out by the meta. I think Drago is really, really hard for the deck to play. Like, compared to like Zard, where you can evolve up your board at some point, Gardevoir always has those little guys in play that Kyurem can always answer. So at some point, if Drago draws Prime Catcher Cologne, the board is going to get wiped. So, but Gardevoir also struggles against aggro decks. But in our particular situation, we want to go for an early Iron Hands. If we get an early Iron Hands up and running, Gardevoir has to respond early. And if they're not playing cards like Enhanced Hammer, your Legacy Energy to Iron Hands is just going to sweep the board. If it takes 4 prizes, you can always close out the game with Wordier on the Gardevoir, or just take 2 individual prize cards to win the game. But a lot of the time, if they do find the Enhanced Hammer, we play a Lightning. So we can just go dig aggressively with our researches to find that Vessel, find that Lightning Energy, put it onto the Hands, and then Hands can almost guarantee take us 4 prizes. Then Hands goes down, and then we can come back on and just, take a knockout. Doesn't matter if you have a Drifloon, doesn't matter what you have.
Okay. So early Iron Hands is the hope. Double early Iron Hands, basically. And then going just for attack. That makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, even I remember we had Natalie on here. She said, if you have electric energy in the Lugia, it might just be, like, game over.
Yeah, it's really tough. Like, we stole that idea from from Alex Szymanski, who did Top 32 NAIC, with like a very similar idea with the electric energy, and we were like, oh, this is cool. Let's take that.
Do you feel any certain way about Regidrago? It was so popular at Worlds. Is there any worries going into Regidrago?
I think the deck is still going to be more popular moving forward as well. Like, I think it's going to be probably the most popular deck, if not, like, it's the best, like, deck in a vacuum. The matchup is pretty straightforward. I think it's just whoever can go 2/2/2 first wins this matchup. But the thing is that they have a lot more small guys on their board that Lugia very fortunately one-shots. So if you can get your V-Guard or Mist Energy on your Lugia early, it makes it really hard for them to one-shot the Lugia. So your one Lugia gets a lot of mileage. And as soon as that happens, they have to find their Temple of Sinnoh to make a play. And if they have to use V-Star to get there or anything else in that regard, then they've already lost the game, because you have to V-Star to find Sinnoh. You don't have V-Star later in the game to set up your board or get a second Sinnoh, because a lot of the time I'm just going to go, okay, you've done all this. I can go Pheasantipity, draw a billion cards, Weirdeer or Minccino, knock out your active Regidrago. You've now down 2 Regidrago, or like Drago plus something else, and you need to make a third attacker, which is almost going to be Radzard or Ogerpon. And once you do that, I can just Ogerpon's probably the easiest thing to knock out in the deck, because I can just go Blood Moon attach KO. But if it's like Radzard, I have to find Blood Moon Energy Boss, which is also like super easy when I'm seeing like 10 cards or 15 cards or whatever.
That makes a lot of sense. Fingers crossed then. But it sounds like you're able to take out those Ogerpons really easily, so it can even out the matchup. I actually didn't even think about the V-Guard, because so few Pokemon these days are V-Pokemon. So that makes a lot of sense. I guess if there was like a universal start to your game that you would like won in every game and be like, I feel comfortable here, how would you see that going between turn 1 and turn 2?
If I was going first, just any way to get Lugia on board, and maybe 1 chops or 2 chops into the discard with a supporter in hand for the follow-up turn, or even just like Lugia Squawk or something like that going first. Going second, depending on the matchup, I think you want to get 2 Lugias in play, because if there's a chance that 1 Lugia gets KO'd, it's you just kind of lose. So Lugia, and then maybe like a supporter, and then like ideally any world where I can go like research, put chops in the discard, or like read the wind, put chops in the discard. That's all I really need with access to a turn 2 V-Star. And then from there, the game kind of plays itself with what's on board. It's just managing your energy properly and knowing, okay, I don't have this many energy left, so I can't use Word Ear as an example for an attacker. So I have to maybe play into the Raikou a little bit more. I have to play into taking a weird Lugia knockout. So it's just knowing how many resources you actually have left.
That makes a lot of sense. I will load up live then, because that sounds like we're going to hope for Lugias. And, I mean, as I said, I'm kind of afraid that I'm going to bring, like...
Some bad luck, yeah.
Some bad luck, because I never get the chops in the discard. Fingers crossed we can have that perfect setup that we are dreaming about now with those 2 chops, the Lugia, or 2 Lugias if we're in second.
Yeah, that was my, I mean, we saw the good and the bad of Lugia when I was on stream, right? Game 2, we saw the hand where I had nothing going for me, and then Game 3, I opened Ultra Ball double chops, and I was like, wow, this game kind of played itself.
When decks work, they really work.
Yeah. A lot of decks also in this format also just like to jam first. So it's kind of annoying because...
Or run first!
So if the deck's going second, it's probably an aggro deck.
So it's like Raging Bolt.
Bolt or Miraidon. Maybe Moon,
Who would you like to start then, if we think we're going against aggro deck?
I think we still got to always start Lugia, I think.
In the active?
You could start Bundle and just kind of, like, cheese it and hope to, like, not... Like, our hand's pretty bad, so you can go... Or not bad, but, like, our hand's not great for turn 1. So you probably open Bundle here and bench Lugia if we think it's aggro. Kind of make, like a gut read, I guess. Our hand could change entirely with an Ultra Ball or an S Ball or a Roma or anything. All right, that's not doing anything. So we're gonna go ahead and just pass. a nice solid opener. I mean, it's not terrible.
I said I was bringing the bad luck for the record, so
we just have to not die here. That's kind of it.
Prime Catcher.
If we can, like, they need to get Teal Dance, Sada attach, or I guess Teal Dance, Sada attach with 2 energies in the discard, plus Prime Catcher, KO, which is that's a lot of cards. That's a lot of cards. Oh, they're gonna. Okay. Please just Burst Roar. Oh, that was weird. They vesseled energy to put it back in the deck.
Burst Roar? Let's go.
Okay, alright, cool. They played a Vacuum, which is an interesting addition. Doesn't do anything in our matchup, but we survived. Cool, that's a chops. Just Slime Research, I think, here. Nothing to write home about.
Okay.
Like, losing the Minccino kind of sucks a little bit here, but we can make do with it. We didn't hit a way to get where we needed, so I think I would bench a second Lugia.
Okay.
I think we just have to kind of hold the hand here, because if we Ultra Ball now, we don't have a way to discard the Archeops, so I think next turn we have to go Jacques, discard the Ultra Ball, or like we have to go Archeops, or discard the Archeopses. And if we don't want a Jacques, we can also go Ultra Ball Archeops next turn, Lumineon for research. So it gives us a couple of plays for the following turn.
Makes sense.
So we can just go ahead and pass again.
Okay.
It's a little bit unfortunate because we do, I think, want to use... Like, the bundle would be really, really good here because we can force them away from their main attacker, and maybe they push up something wrong, like the Teal Mask or Squawkabilly or something that they would have potentially benched. But now we're in a little bit of a weird spot, because also if we had the Minccino in deck, we could have Nest Balled for the Minccino this turn, and our Jacques would have been super powerful.
That makes sense. Especially since we already have one in discard.
Yeah, so this is a little bit... not ideal, but I mean, we already got them to whiff 1 turn, so it's not bad. And if they have to take a 1 prize KO here, it's still completely fine because
they're all 2 prizers.
Yeah, they want to go 2/2/2 as much as possible, and if they don't go 2/2/2, we can just do the same thing. We can just go 2/2/2 as well. And I mean, we could even go even overcommit a little bit and maybe go into like Word Ear this turn potentially. Maybe we don't have the resources to do that off the rip. I think we have the top deck energy, but. Like, our ideal world is we top deck an Archeops. Like, probably either... Yeah, I think Archeops is probably our best top deck, or another way to discard Pokemon. So we can go put the Archeops into the discard, Lumineon for boss up one of the 2 prizes, and just take it.
Fingers crossed.
So that way we can just, like, preload our boat with energy, too, and then at that point, we're cooking a little bit because we can go get like then we're into bear range too, and bear can take 2 more prizes, and then we can close out the game with Wardeer or another Lugia V-Star boss play.
Let's do it.
I think it's funny that we haven't gotten a chance to look at our deck yet either. So
this is gonna be our moment, and all of the other 3 Archeops are gonna be prized, but it'll be okay.
that would people have asked me before, like, do you ever prize check for Archeops and stuff? And I'm like, no. If they're prized, like, what am I gonna do, man? Like my game plan is not gonna change.
I mean, your game plan could become Scoop.
Yeah, Scoop go game too. I mean, this deck finishes games fast. That's one of the big reasons I like Lugia a lot, because your games are pretty efficient in terms of just getting them done.
Okay. So he takes his 1 prizer.
He left the energies on the bolts, which means he thinks we're not going to... I mean, we really can't punish him. I'm not going to lie to him. But, you know...
he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Too bad we don't have, what was it, powerful energy that would, like...
Oh, that
add
card
20
was so
damage?
broken.
I wonder if they'll ever reprint that. To be fair, then they created Iron Hands directly afterwards, so they really didn't care about Stoutland.
They were just like, hey, everyone take extra prize cards. And it looks like they're going to do Dragon support with Terra stuff for the next little bit till whatever our new mechanic is in ZA. Our opponent is taking forever to take prize cards. Awesome.
Fun. Okay, there we go.
Okay. Yeah,
Do you want left or right Lugia? Do you care?
Your call. Dealer's choice.
Let's see.
The top deck is all that matters here. Iono's not ideal, so we can... I think our hand is... we can go Nest Ball, see just what's in our deck first. While we're here too. So we could... Honestly, Nest Ball for Fez doesn't seem terrible.
Okay.
Because we can see 3 more cards before we even commit to a supporter. And so in 3 more cards, we have a chance to hit another Archeops or a boss or something of that nature.
So Fez we do?
I think we Fez first, yep. Just kind of see what we draw into, give ourselves some options. Aroma, yep, let's see where it takes us.
Give us a Evolution. I don't know which one that is, if I'm being honest, but Evolution?
Nice, okay, cool,
Ooh.
yep. So we can go grab the chops.
Chops.
Probably just Ultra Ball the Lugia and the chops in hand.
Lugia and chops. Do anything specific?
We're going to go get the V-Star. We'll just evolve both V-Stars up, I think. Seems reasonable.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, so they're both full.
Yeah, a little bit harder for them to knock out. I mean, obviously they need to deal with our Fez, which is going to be their biggest problem here, I think. Mm-hmm. And then we can go V-Star. Good start there. So. Yeah.
Get the 2 Archeops.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I like just putting 4 energy onto the active, Lumineon for boss, and then taking out the Teal Mask with the grass on it. So
okay.
It doesn't matter which ones you do. I think Gift has to be one. Probably Gift, V-Guard, and Mist are 3 of them at least, because those cards are kind of useless from here on out. Mist doesn't do anything in this matchup. V-Guard doesn't do anything in this matchup.
That makes sense.
You can probably do one of the Jets as well.
Okay, Jet. So use the ones that are useless early, is what you're saying.
Yes. So because you just don't need them. And the gifts have value at some point too. And then here I would attach probably the double turbo to the V-Star on the bench.
Okay.
Because you don't really want to attack with this Lugia with the double turbo for sure, but I think going into Wardeer is important, and putting the energy on Pheasantipity makes it likely to get bossed, and if they KO the Pheasantipity, then you lose all your energy too. So
that makes sense. So Lumineon for boss, we said?
Yeah, Lumineon for boss, yep. And then we'll just take out the one with the energy on it on the bench.
Oh, we have a lot of bosses.
Nice. That's really all we're looking for. I think if we can go boss, and then bear. I think one thing we should have checked for, I didn't check when we were prize checking, is if we had Wardeer and bear. But we're going to take this first knockout, and we can check after that.
Okay.
Because this next knockout, Wardeer or bear is super applicable, and because I'm pretty sure we're going to just get smacked here.
Well, we got the bear. We got the bear.
Bear's good. Because bear is super easy to set up to after they take a knockout on our active, because it only needs 2 energies, which Archeops just kind of does that, kind of nice.
For sure. Very nice.
And you could always pull more, and then our game plan next year is going to be able to try to pull more energies out of the deck too, because we don't want to draw into the energies, and 2, more energies on board, easier for us to accelerate to that warrior number that we need.
That makes sense. Slitherwing. Interesting.
One prize attacker, try to offset the prize trade, but it doesn't actually do anything. I mean, it can one-shot the Fez, I guess, if they get the 2 fightings on it.
Oh,
But that's a pretty big commitment.
Yeah,
and
for real.
In the meantime, also, we're like, if they one-shot the Fez, our attacker stays alive, and then all we have to do is find fish or boss or something in the meantime.
How many fish do we run?
2 fish. 2 fish, 4 boss. So no more fish.
No
but
more
we do
fish.
have boss.
We do have 2 more bosses, yeah.
That's the, like, a lot of people didn't really expect me to play 4 boss at Worlds, but I just was like, boss is the best card in the deck, I feel like, and like a lot of the time you just want a boss, and that's all you really need to do, you know?
Makes sense. So draw some cards. 2, I think.
And if our opponent also next turn, like, we're gonna proc into gift and stuff too, right? So next turn, we can Iono our opponent too, because
Boss.
we'll be chilling. I mean, the boss is ideal to have, so maybe we just hold the hand, because they don't really have a bunch of gust. I would promote the Fez.
Fez is up.
Because Fez is a 1 retreat coster over the Lugia, and keeping a DT is 60 damage versus 40.
True. Okay.
So here we can always go bench Bear, I think, to start.
Okay, bench Bear.
We can use 1 Archeops, getting the gift energy, and probably... I want to say Legacy is still important to keep in the deck, so maybe a Jet, yeah. Put that onto the Bear.
Okay.
I would go Archeops again as well to put a gift energy and a DT on the active.
Gift and DT on the active.
Yeah, so by doing this, we're also preventing our Pheasantipity from being knocked out and losing all of our card draw all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would attach the Lightning to the active, because I think we're going to retreat the Lightning off.
Okay.
And then we can slam... I think I would still slam Iono here, because our opponent has an 8-card hand before we do anything.
So Iono here.
Mm-hmm. Slam the Iono, and then on the flip side, we'll get 3 extra cards off the Fez as well.
That makes sense to me. And then we would
We
draw
can
first?
draw first before we play all these cards from our hands.
draw. We got another boss next turn.
Cool. I would put the Goza into play.
Oh, true.
Just because a coin flip can give us Warrior now. I would play Aroma as well. Just thin out some cards. Actually, maybe hold Aroma and Vessel away the
Oops.
hand. Oh, you're good.
Sorry.
That's on me. Tails.
Was that weird, dear?
Probably, yeah, just put the Warrior in hand, make them actually Iono us. Or judge us or whatever they play. And then I would Vessel away the hands, because that card, like, you don't need those cards, and you get to see some more cards off gift.
Yeah. Okay. Do we
Just
use
fail that.
Mezzy or no?
I mean, there's something we really want, so I think you don't have to this turn. So I think I would just retreat off the Lightning and then go into the Bear, and then it's time to rumble.
Time to rumble.
And now next turn, all we're looking for, like, even if he doesn't kill, like, let's say he doesn't kill the Bear and has to pass or something for some reason, we just need to find a Jet energy to reset the Bear.
That makes sense. Okay.
But, like, we're super far ahead now where our opponent needs to take 3 prize cards, but our board is kind of checkmate, because if you KO the Bear, we have gift energy, and we have Warrior in hand. If you KO the Lugia, it doesn't matter, because we have enough energy on board to just slam the Warrior and go into it. If you KO the Pheasantipity, we again have gift energy set up. So their best KO is, like, probably Lumineon, and if they do that, we have Warrior to end the game.
That's perfect.
So that's kind of like what I did a lot over the weekend, where I'd just be spreading out the gift energies in a way where you don't have a great target anymore to take out, because a lot of the time in, like, matchups like Drago or Raging Bolt or something, you could pretty much be like, okay, if I take that out this turn and I Iono you, I have a chance. But that gets kind of eliminated by gift energy existing.
It makes a lot of sense.
Then they're going to try to maybe go Slitherwing into knock out the Fez or something, but I don't know if that even does enough.
And we still have boss in hand, so it doesn't even matter.
Yep.
Oh, concede. Let's go. Perfect. Easy. They
Yeah.
saw the checkmate, and they were like, I can't do anything about it.
The aggro decks are, like, really, like, scary for the first, like, turn or two, because if they take the first 2 prize cards, it can get really scary. but a lot of the time, if they have to take a 1 prize card in any matchup, really, like, their whole strategy just crumbles.
That makes sense. So, as long as we can take it all out from below them, their feet up from below them, we're in a good spot. Okay, so I do think I brought the curse, by the way, into the actual games. I think both games we did not get Archeops down to like turn 3 or 4. But we still won, which is big.
I mean, that's the power of the deck. I think some of the games at Worlds also, like, I had to play, like, I in round 11, game 2, I beat a Raging Bolt without even using V-Star until, like, I'd taken 4 prize cards because of Raikou. No. So there's, like, weird situations where, like, not all the time every deck works, but, like, Lugia is one of those decks where it's, like, a lot of cards in your deck are hits. So you can just keep playing the game and, like, get to paces, like, if you get to a Lumineon, you can get to a supporter, and you can play the game.
That makes a lot of sense. I will try to remember that and not freak out, because sometimes I just pull back a Minccino and an Archeops instead of waiting for 2.
Yeah.
I just wing it. I'm afraid. The moment there's no, like, 2 Archeops turn 2 in my deck, like, discard, I'm like, too bad. I can't do anything about it. Go next. So I'll try to remember that when I play the games. I'll try to remember that. Well, Rahul, thank you so much for coming on today and teaching us how to play Archeops. I'm still really afraid of having no Archeops. And this did not help, but I think I learned a lot better on how to play the deck in a way that it does not matter as much if I, like, miss out, and how to still, like, stay calm under the pressure and get those Archeops out with due time. Would you like to talk anything about anything you're working on? I think you're doing a masterclass on Lugia as well, correct? Yeah. If you want a more extensive view on how to play Lugia.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me again, RC. If you guys want to jump onto the masterclass, I will be doing that this Friday. And if you guys don't catch it in time, I will have a guide, like PowerPoint, set up, more than likely like a PowerPoint ready to go for anyone who wants that, and the VOD. I am doing a little bit of coaching as well, but my time is a little bit limited over the next week before Baltimore. And then after Baltimore, we go into a new format. So you guys got to catch me at the right time. But feel free to DM me or whatever. Yeah, all that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. If anybody does want to catch up with Rahul, I'm sure that masterclass is going to be very helpful for anyone who's looking to do their locals these next couple of weekends, as well as Baltimore coming up. Guys, thank you so much for watching this week's episode. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button, and leave a comment down below of what deck you want to see.